So here's the Tiger. I got the backside of his armor, no problem for my gun. Tiger's like butter. Nice, tracked him. Got some good damage. That gun. Hey everybody, welcome back to dungeongurunet. This is nethervoid, also known as John, doing another strategy series for you this week, another doubleheader. And you're looking at the E2, the Jumbo. It's part of the American medium line here, where you can go Easy 8 or the Jumbo here. It's a really good tank. Plays a lot like, it's probably kind of a hybrid between a medium and a heavy tank, because it does have a lot of armor, and it moves a little bit slower than a medium would move. Let's just get right into it. Well, that's kind of how you play this tank. It's a little more forgiving than the Easy 8, and you don't have to necessarily wolfpack with it as much. You can kind of push a little bit on your own and not worry too much, as long as you're, not being... You still have to be cautious, but you don't have to wait for other people to engage. You can kind of do your own thing, which really helps in randoms if you don't platoon a lot, when I notice. So that's pretty much how you play this tank. You're going to push up a little bit in people's face. You're still going to try to flank a little bit, because the Sears is a tier 6, and you're probably going to get into higher tier matches, and also your gun does not have very high penetration at 128 here. Most tier 6 guns are getting into the 160 range, so you're going to have a harder time penetrating a little bit. So you will still want to flank with this tank, but it's just a little bit more forgiving than Easy 8. So let's go over stats. 760 hit points with the upgraded turret, and we'll talk about how much that changes a little bit later. 33 tons, pushed around by 520 horsepower. That's pretty good. It's a little slow. Again, it's probably between a medium and a heavy. The acceleration is pretty good, but the top speed is pretty much just like a heavy. The traverse at 32 is really pretty standard. The 45-degree turn speed on the upgraded turret is really nice, making this a 78-degree traverse, which makes it hard to flank you, which is kind of nice. And that's kind of how it's a little bit like a medium, but then again, which turret you use, we'll talk about in a moment. You might choose to use the stock turret, actually. So, hull armor here, 101 hull in the front, is really, really nice. You get a lot of dings on the front, especially since that's 101 and it's sloped, so it's more like, 140 or 150, and people have a hard time hitting this. I ding a lot of shots even off tier 7s and 8s. Especially angled. If you come at them like this and it's sloped, 101 becomes like 180 or something like that. So that's really nice to have on this tank, and that's why it plays a lot more like a heavy, and it's a little more forgiving. 75.6 or I'm sorry, 75.6. That's a lot. 76 millimeter armor on the side is also pretty nice. You get a lot of dings on the side, especially if you're a little bit angled like this. That's pretty nice. And 38 in the back is pretty bad, but then again, that's for a medium, this is really good armor, so I'm not going to complain about the back. Now, the turret armor is really awesome as well, with 177 front turret armor. On the upgraded turret, the side armor and back armor being 50 is pretty bad, and a lot of people complain about that, and they don't use the upgraded turret, and we'll talk about that in a minute as well, but it's still not really horrible. I mean, you're a tier 6, so it's okay. It's kind of a trade-off between... Well, we'll talk all about that in a minute, but anyway, that's the side armor for the upgraded turret anyway. 420 view range on this upgraded turret is really nice. The stock turret is like 380. 420 is really, really nice for tier 6, and I liked the view range. It helps you not have to be up in people's face so much. That means if you're kind of supporting a tier 7 or tier 8 push, you don't have to be right up with them. You can be a little bit behind them and still see the enemy that they're shooting at. 700 signal range on the radio is really nice. We might as well transition to talking about modules. Now, this radio that you unlock way back in the M4, M3E unlocks really early, but it only goes up to the T20. So it's still a good radio to invest in, because actually M2 light tank, you get this thing early. So it's used on a lot of different tanks, so it's definitely worth unlocking, even though you're only going to have it to the T20. It puts you up from 450 to 700, which is a huge increase for radio. And again, it's going to help your XP and credits, because anybody that you can radio back to your team as they're being damaged just helps with your XP and credits quite a bit, actually. Tracks, they don't really do a lot, 2 degrees per second here. You don't need them to load pretty much anything you want on here except the 105. You do need the upgraded tracks to load the 105, but you don't need the tracks to load any other modules you want on this thing. Upgraded turret you can put on, upgraded gun, you can do anything. Watch, let's just do it. So I got the lower tracks here. Oops, why did I do that? It's not what I wanted to show you. So, well, lower tracks, I can put everything I want. I can't do the 105, that's the only thing I can't do. So, you don't have to get those, which is nice, and we'll talk about that on the tech tree. So, engines, it starts out with a 380. It's a little sluggish with 380, I won't lie. You know, and that's pretty much standard for stock. I didn't really notice a difference because it's pretty much standard. And it still moves around okay. It's a little sluggish, but not too bad. It's not like a lot of other tanks that you're just like, wow, I can't get into the action. And since your gun you should start out with one of these 128 pen guns. It's not too bad because you don't have to flank to get shots on people. So the 380 is not too bad. The first step up at 60 horsepower step is pretty nice, and then another 80 after that is just phenomenal. And this thing actually has pretty good acceleration with this 520 horsepower engine. Now here's the oddity about this tank, is the stock turret has triple the armor on the sides and back. And a lot of people like that better since this is kind of an armored tank. They want as much armor as they can. That's the strength of this tank. You do lose 8 degrees per second traverse, which makes it, again, more like a heavy. Then the traverse speed becomes 69 with the tracks and the turret. But that's still pretty good. A lot of heavies are coming in about 50 to 55, so you still have a little more traverse than normal. The view range drops off quite a bit, 40 meters less view range, which means you probably will have to get in people's face a little bit more. You're probably doing that anyway, so it's not too bad. The one difference here, though, is you won't be able to load the biggest gun. And now, the difference between the biggest gun, we'll just start getting into guns here, is there's no penetration or damage difference. So for that, you don't lose anything. What you do lose is some reload, about 20% reload speed here. So it's really up to you. Play both and see what you like. I prefer having the faster gun because I want to get more shots off on the enemy and kill them faster. And usually that means that my turret face is pointed at the enemy. I don't have as much problem getting flanked in this tank, and that's because it's a little bit of a pop-out tank, so I'm usually hiding behind a building or something. I'm not out in the open too often. Sometimes I am out in the open, and I do get flanked occasionally, but for me, the reload speed on the gun I'm using all the time, and the side armor and rear armor of the turret I'm only using part of the time. If they're behind me, I don't care what the back turret armor is, because if they're already behind me, I'm probably going to die. I probably did something wrong. But the side armor, you can argue for it. I prefer the reload speed. So that's pretty much the main difference that's kind of odd about this tank, is that stock turret has more armor than the upgraded turret. So that's pretty much the stats, playstyle, and modules, and it's time to go over research. The E2 research tree is pretty simple, a lot like the Easy 8 research tree. The nice thing here is you can have all 4 of these unlocked from the M4 Sherman. So immediately you can throw on an engine upgrade, and you can throw on this 76mm upgrade, which takes you from a 92 pen gun up to a 128 pen gun, which is a 36 pen difference, which is really nice. Pretty much with this 128 pen, you should be able to pen pretty much anybody you're going up against. It's hard to get some heavies on the side if they're like tier 8 and above, but that's just kind of the breaks with a tier 6 tank. But as far as tier 6 and below, you should be good with the 128 pen gun. So the first thing I would do, if you prefer the reload speed, I would go for the turret and then get this upgraded gun, which if you already have the T29, or American Heavy Line basically, you already have that unlocked. So you can just go for the, and I already did. So I went straight for the turret, it was kind of no-brainer, and then I already had this unlocked, so I threw the gun on immediately, and I had this whole line unlocked. After that, I went for the tracks, because it's 5,000 and the second engine's 11,000, and that gave me a little bit more turning speed, and that was kind of nice, and the turning speed was nice, but the 5200 XP is really what did it for me. And then I did this second engine. Everything was unlocked for me at that point, and I'm going straight for the T20 at this point. Now, if you prefer the more armored version of the turret, I would go for the tracks first, then I would go for the engine, because those are the 2 pieces you really care about. Then I would fill the rest of it out and then get the T20. So it'd be a slightly different version if you want more armor on your turret instead of the increased reload speed. So I'm going to put both of those on the side over here, and that's this tech tree. So now that we've done research, let's do equipment. Now, obviously, if you've seen my videos, I have a lot of them now. I don't put any equipment on tanks below tier 7 because I don't stay in those tanks very long, and I don't want to spend the 10 gold to demount the equipment. But if I was going to put equipment on this thing, I would probably put vents. I'd put a rammer on it, even though this gun is fast. Now, again, when you put equipment on a tank, for me, I always think of what's the final tank I'm going to end up in, because this equipment's going to keep moving along with this tank line until I'm at the end. Now, the final tank is the Patton, and with that in mind, I would put the vent on the Patton, the rammer on the Patton, and I would put the vert stab on the Patton. The rammer won't help this tank all that much because the reload speed is so fast, and so a percentage-based reloading time change is not going to help because it's so fast already, it's hardly noticeable. On the Patton, it'll be very noticeable. It'll be very nice to have. So again, those are the 3 pieces of equipment I would go for. So for consumables, I mainly just shot AP all the time. I did throw some HE in there in case I was up against some like an IS-4 or something, and I actually used my HE this time against IS-4 when I couldn't. Even if I could get a side shot on him, it wouldn't have mattered. I just loaded HE and started shooting at his gun and to damage his gun, and maybe even knock it out if I could get enough damage on it. I could also get a little bit of damage on the tank instead of getting dings. It just helps to have a little bit of HE in this tank, because with 128 pen, you are going to go up against some tanks where all you can do is fire HE into the weak points and hope it does some damage, because you'll never penetrate almost anywhere on their tank. As far as consumables, I only put a small repair kit on tier 5 and 6. A lot of that is because the games are over so fast and they're so chaotic that spending a lot on consumables really doesn't help a lot. If you're already getting hit a lot and your crew member's out, you're probably just going to die. I mean, that's kind of the nature of these games. It helps a lot more to have a fire extinguisher and a heal kit on the higher level tanks like an IS-4 or something like that, where not only are the games longer for you, and you're just more of an impact in that game, so having those consumables is nice. Also, the repair cost of your tank is higher than these consumable costs, so it might be nice to repair something and not die, or help you win the match. Your crew is going to be pretty nice. It should start out at least at 75%. I usually buy my crew up to 75% starting at tier 6 and above when I transfer them over, because I want to keep that skill as high as I can. It starts to matter a lot more in the higher tiers to have a really nice crew. And obviously my crew is getting really nice, almost at 100%, and I have almost in about 4,000 or 6,000 more XP, I'll have the T20, and at that point I'll almost have a 100% crew. If they're not 100%, I'm going to 100% them before I do get the T20. So your crew is going to be pretty nice, and you're going to notice a difference. If you've played a lot of tier 4s and 5s, you're going to notice the difference in your crew. You're going to think, wow, this tank is awesome, and a lot of that is your crew. It makes the main thing is the aim speed and accuracy of your gun. It's just very noticeable. So that's pretty much what your crew is going to look like. Let's get this thing in a game. This time I got spawned on Redshire. I really like this map, and I'm getting really good at this map from both directions, actually, from the south and the north. I wanted to show you this replay because I want to show you how this tank is unlike other tier 6s. Now, I know I did spawn at the top, but there are tier 7s in this match, so they have enough firepower to take me out. Here I am smashing the little supply depot or command center or whatever. Always do this on every start of every game. I try to do it. I'm getting pretty good at remembering that. So this is not generally the direction I go on this map, but I wanted to try it out, especially with this tank that I can make a couple different mistakes in and still be okay. What do we got going with this here? A Matilda, M3A3E2, AMX-40, SU-85B, so M4. We got a little bit of firepower and an unupgraded KV. So this tank is a brute, and you can brute around with it a lot. So the first thing I do with it, like a medium, I'll sit up and kind of wait for things to get spotted a little bit. I need to find out where the enemy is. I don't want to get surrounded, but I need to find out where I want to push. Also, this gun is pretty accurate. You can snipe with it pretty good, so I'll snipe some of these lower tiers before I move in and start brawling with them. M4, let's see what I can do here. This should be a no-brainer. Should be easy. Shot a little bit ahead of him. See the reload speed? I love that reload speed. Let's make a T40 pay. That's a really good tank right there. See, that reload speed's awesome. It's a really fast gun. Boom, 2 kills, or 1 kill. I didn't get the kill on that before Sherman. I thought I did. Oh, AMX-40 got the T40. So, with this 128 pen, you should be able to take on KVs pretty good. Don't let them shoot you in the face with that 107, though. It will still penetrate you and hurt really bad. But I don't fear KVs in this tank at all. This tank plays a lot like the 3601, except this has, actually, I feel it's a more armored. But it's a big brawler. So, while they're going to rush up, I'm just going to sit there. There's no reason for me to push out. I'm just going to keep sniping with this tank. And why not take a shot? I might hit him. KV's still out there. He's pretty hidden. So they've backed off a lot, but it looks like we really need to crush this push into the city. That was a wild shot. And they're hiding a lot now. There's a tiger down there too. This push in the city could really be bad for us. So I decide, okay, now that they're hidden, they're not giving me free shots, I'm going to go up and flank. And now I waited a little too long because everybody we have in the city pretty much is dead. Our T-29's getting jacked up. He was trying to push the hill. So I'm going to go up behind and flank. I've got enough armor. I'm not really worried about that KV. I've got my front armor toward the hill in case anybody can see me and I can't see them and they start shooting at me. So here's the tiger. I got the backside of his armor. No problem for my gun. Tiger's like butter. Nice. Tracked him. Got some good damage. That gun, the reload speed on that gun really makes this tank pretty deadly. I'm trying to move up between shots, but I'm not having a lot of success because the reload speed between this gun is just, there's none. Okay, now so we crushed that push. The KV, it's time to take him out. He's got the derp, so I really only have to avoid one of his shots. It's very inaccurate. So if I don't push in, I should have an easy time with this guy. 76mm armor on the side, I should have an easy time killing this guy. Yeah, here we go. Let's take him out. Right in the turret ring, or right above the tracks there. Great spot to shoot a KV. Just keep, look at the reload speed on this sucker. This is awesome. I love this tank. So he's dead. 2 kills now. Damaged. I think I've damaged about 4 guys at this point. Maybe 5. Now I'm going to push low on this river, which you see me do a lot in this map. And that's because it's harder to see a guy in the river, because your profile is so low. At this point, it's still anybody's game, really, but I think we got him at this point. Now, I am pushing up a little bit solo, but you can do that in this tank, as long as you're smart. I do still use cover when I do this, but I've got the armor to push up, and this gun is pretty good, especially with the remaining tanks they have left. I can penetrate anybody on their team. And with the reload speed I do have, it's a little harder to flank, to get multiple people on me, because I can shoot at both people pretty easily. So I'm kind of waiting for people to get spotted. What is that? Slugger going up the hill there? Yeah. Kind of waiting for people to get spotted, but I'm pushing up myself anyway a little bit into these bushes here. Nice advanced position. See if I can see anybody. Oh, there we go. Hummel. Let's get him out of the game. There we go. Now that guy can, if he has the upgraded gun, he can pretty much one-shot me. So I have to be a little worried about that. My crew is not at 100, so my shots are not as accurate as they could be. Easy 8. Okay. It's my cousin here. Let's pound on him. Really wild shot for my less than stellar crew. The Stug is probably more of a threat to me right now because it has a bigger gun. Oh, here we go. That guy's trying to reposition. Let's get him. There we go. See, couldn't see him, but remember, they're still there even though you can't see them. So now I'm thinking, okay, I don't need to hide as much. The Easy 8's not going to penetrate me. The Stug might. He's got a better penetrating gun with the L70. But the Easy 8 is not really a threat. Plus he's butter for me. His armor's pretty poor. There we go. I'm getting hit a little bit. Not too bad. Probably HE. Maybe well, I probably got hit once. There's the Stug. I gotta get him out of the game. See? A lot of damage on his gun. And he's soft, so he's easy to take out. PZ4 now. Oh, he's not even upgraded. PZ3-4. Not too worried about him, except he can flank me. That flank would hurt. I don't know why he's just sitting there. Man, I need a better crew. There we go. And another thing with the reload speed is I can miss a shot and it's not as big of a deal. I mean, it's not a big deal with the lower tier gun, but with the higher tier gun, it's like really no big deal. So we pretty much won this map. This is it. This is the end. At E2 against E8, no problem. I'll win every time. So 4 kills, showing you how to use this tank that you still need to use cover. What's that? Almost 1,600 point, or I'm sorry, 1,200 point game there? No, that's almost a 1,600 point game. Just, I can't do the math. 1,500 point game, at least 1,600 point game. Really nice game for this tank, especially as a tier 6. A lot of credits. These tier 6s are money makers in this tank especially. My shots are probably 2 or 3K max, so I made like 40,000 on this match. It's pretty good for not being a gold tank. Didn't get a medal, killed 4, damaged 5, almost got a Confederate. The hit rate is not that great because, again, my crew is not that great. But this tank is awesome. This is an amazing game. Kind of showing you how you can push your weight around with this tank a little bit while still playing smart and not rushing out there. So please like, comment, and favorite. Let me know what you think, and let me know if you're going to get the E2 or the EZ8 and why.